Greetings, sir and sirettes, and welcome back to From the Depths with me, Lathrix, and of course, welcome back to the sandbox mode where today we are going to be building an alternative, or perhaps a complete replacement for our current bomber. Now, the one which just attacked that poor Jacob's Folly just then is this. It's an absolute skeleton, but it is proving a few points. First of all, it is only using thrusters, no wings, no tail, no nothing else. It's simply using thrusters, which means it's going to be a lot easier to defend. But also, it's only 360 volume at the moment, where our current bomber is 3,000. This thing is almost 10 times smaller than our current bomber. Now, of course, it isn't armored up yet, so this is likely to end up in 600 or 700 volume, but even so, this is going to be far smaller, and hopefully is going to look way better on our carrier. That's really why I'm building this. I want a bomber I can use on carriers a lot easier, and honestly, our current bomber, I can't see me using more than one of them per fight. Although it does a lot of damage, I just don't think it's efficient enough. So hopefully, these weaker yet more efficient bombers will be better. Also, it uses almost no fuel. Again, no armor at the moment, so it's quite light, but still. This is what we're beginning with. So what I'm thinking currently with this craft is we are going to stick with the penetration depth fuses with a slower reload time, and we're going to be adding a set of fake wings. Now, the purpose for these fake wings really is just to armor up this core, and I'm still not sure how I'm going to armor up the bottom section, but still, the wings, I think, will provide a really good option just for that. We could even have some thrusters then on the outside of the wings, so at least they have some purpose, since putting them further away from the center of mass certainly makes a lot more sense. Though I may still keep the ones in the core. At the moment, it has more engine power than it needs, so I will be reducing the engine probably quite drastically. I could bring these thrusters back as well for pitch, especially if I have some on the back in addition to that. That way we can make the craft even smaller. The problem is the jet is still very much exposed. What we could do is have two jets rather than one, have them like this. That way they go less back. Not too sure just yet, so let's just mess around with things and see what works. Apparently I was really overkilling it with the roll thrusters. We only need this many. Also, we are way faster than this needs to be, so that's fine. This thruster will definitely do. Now, one problem is, turns out the regular jet engines here, which I keep calling thrusters, are way more expensive than I originally thought. So, although this is going to be far smaller than the bomber, it is probably going to be not as cheap as you might expect for its size. Likely to be somewhere between 1/10 and 1/5 of the size, but about half of the cost, most likely. Still, this works absolutely flawlessly, so now we just build up everything else. This is hopefully going to be a very short video, which is rare for me, which is lovely. Boom. I do love these type of CRAM shells, though. They are fantastic to watch. Just that internal explosion is glorious. Now, although the huge jet engines are more efficient, since they are 6 times the size of the jet engines, but more than 6 times more powerful, since 6 times 500 would be 3,000, these are 4,500, I don't think we need that much power on the front. I've just replaced the rolling thrusters with 2 internal ailerons, and they're actually getting the job done. The ailerons, by the way, cost 5 each. The smaller jets cost 50. So most likely we can avoid using the larger jets, since we just don't need that much power. Lovely. Messing around with different types of CRAM Tetris, I even looked up a very small guide a moment ago, because honestly, the last one is good for the larger bomber because I kept on slotting them in sort of circles, and because of the space required, it sort of worked. But with this one, because I want to make it smaller, I'm trying to kind of flatten it all out a bit and get more autoloaders in much better positions, and I think this is going to be much better. I might be able to put the jet forward by up to 5 blocks. That's going to be great. So after a lot of work on the Tetris and redoing it again from scratch, the overall cost of this is just shy of 6,000 now. The overall volume is only 500. The CRAMs should be about the same strength as they were previously, if not a little bit stronger. Yep, about the same. Perfect. Much, much smaller. So now it looks like this. Still just a block at the moment, but now we can start work on actually making it look a bit better. So we need at least one more layer of armor on the top. The bottom we can potentially just leave as it is, because all of those gauge increases are as strong as metal. Because of how much cheaper it is, it's okay if it dies to a cram shot or something. I just need it to survive mild anti-air fire, because that was the problem with the larger variants, relying so much on the ailerons and things like the, the tail planes and stuff like that. It's so vulnerable to flak. Just a couple of hits, and you lose control, regardless how armed up the core is. I just need it to survive a little bit, especially at such a little cost in comparison to the last one. So after a lot of tinkering, this is where we've got to. I'm just testing out different shapes for, different ideas. I think the wings will end up just being completely mimics, so we can have the mimics right on the outside here, but it looks like it's about this size, because there's nothing really needed here. I've essentially turned off roll for this craft. It only rolls now to 5 degrees, which means it's just not really needed. It's simply using the jets, which are far easier to armor up, and should be way less vulnerable to things like flak. It's also only using half the fuel of the darts. Its volume is less than 500. Remember that our last bomber is 3,000. Oh, come on, the last time you attacked, you hit there, it was glorious. As soon as I want to record a little bit, then of course it misses. It's not super fast, but it is, well, it looks slower than it is. That's 78 meters per second. It's not terribly slow. I was looking for about 100, so I may need to make it a bit more fuel hungry, but right now it's just so cheap to run. Why do you always miss when I'm trying to record you? So smooth as well to look at, which I like. Just no wobble. It's like I'm building with 3 different building styles here. Yeah, I kind of like it. Also, you may have noticed that the jet goes up quite weirdly with the exhaust. This does work absolutely perfectly. This is called, I didn't pay attention to where my center of mass was. It was down here for a while, but then it jumped up because, I started adding armor, and now the exhaust needs to be a bit higher because that's where the thrust actually comes from. Yeah, it's a bit silly. So, there's lots of little bits here I like, but it really does look like a jumble of several designs I'm aware of. Currently doing a test against flak. I have turned off the weapons, so don't expect any fire from our craft. This is the 5th attack run. I think some of the guns are actually out of ammo. Oh yeah, one gun got taken out because it fired once I turned off attack. Still. Oh, I can see metal being knocked off. The back is probably starting to take enough damage that the jet is likely to start taking damage itself, as in bits falling off. Yeah, you still out of ammo? No, okay, good. That's lovely. Honestly, this is doing better than the final version of the last bomber. Having nothing on the outside just makes it so much more stable versus these kind of attacks. Still waiting for that jet to fall. Oh, yep, almost all of the jet is currently dark looking. That's because it has all taken damage. Maybe we need to make it less stable, though. It's so stable right now, it's probably going to be hit by a good cram shot if the enemy detection's good enough. That's something to fix later, and actually quite an easy fix. It's a fix I don't really want to do, because I like how it looks. Yeah, that's doing great. Okay, I consider that a massive success. Oh, finally, there we go. Even now, though, still a massive success. That took so much concentrated flak to finally knock out. Also, the volume is still only 600. So still 5 times smaller than the prior bomber. In a multitude of tests I've been doing, it turns out the jet is almost always what goes first. Oh, I was meant to turn off weapons there. Okay, there we go. And by the jet, I mean the custom jet itself at the back. So I've armored it up, while still keeping it somewhat exposed, because I think it looks better like that. And hopefully now, that will no longer be a major weak point. I don't know why I decided to test versus the Atlas, just I haven't seen one in a while. What is that gun doing? I'm just going to keep this going for a while and see what goes first. It's been a long time now. Oh, it lost some speed. Going to assume... Yep, okay, yep, the back jet is finally going down. That was at least attack run 12. Minimum. I may have to stop counting about 8. It's still just about holding in there. I think it's lost a lot of the attachments to the jet. And now... Oh, nope, still going. Okay, good to know. Still going. Yeah, it looks like the attachments have been knocked off the top and the bottom. And there it goes, finally. So the jet is still going to be the weak point, but I am more than happy with how long that lasted. That is smaller than I thought it was, in fact. New bomber, Dart, the original bomber. The size comparison is insane. Definitely prefer the Dart to all three, but we can work with this. Added even more armor to it, made the engines a little bit less fuel efficient, but still way more efficient than the Dart currently, and especially the bomber. It now costs 8,000 materials, almost exactly, and its overall volume is now 720. And I quite like how it looks. It looks a little bit plain, but it looks like a plane. A plane. It looks plain, but it's also a plane, so it's plane. Which is now its name. Trying to add more armor where I can. I've made it a little bit longer. I'm not too sure if I like how sharp the front looks. Certainly got a snoot on it. Not sure about that. I feel like a lot of these small changes like that, since it doesn't really affect the effectiveness of the craft, I can do off camera before I use it properly on the next craft, on the cruiser. Doesn't look terrible, it just looks a bit boring, that's all. Now, I'm also considering rerouting this exhaust somewhere else. It looks a bit weird just sticking out the top like that. So, this is how it looks on the top of the carrier. I think size-wise that's perfect. Perhaps only one, but I'm still thinking two. If we have them both facing the same way with a delay, that's fine. If we have them both facing opposite ways, that should also be absolutely fine. And just for the fun of it, I've also just grabbed one for the side, just to see how that will look. I'm thinking it's going to look a bit silly. Well, it's not as bad as I thought. Just a bit too long. But yep, definitely about the right size. Still need a bit more touching up, though, to make it look a bit better. Again, and again, I've said, it just looks a bit too plain. I mean, that's just kind of awesome. A full squadron of them is going to be marvelous to watch. So with that, thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed today's video, then of course, likes, favourites, shares, comments, all that good stuff helps out me, helps out the channel, and most importantly, shows that From the Depths is a series you wish to see continued in the future. In the next episode, I am most likely going to have the final version of this craft completely done, and then we are going to finish off the carrier itself. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye. And of course, name suggestions also welcome for this craft itself. Currently, the carrier is going to be called the Dartboard. Thank you, and goodbye.